Yeah. So I wish someone had told me that I wasn't gonna just make a movie, that I was gonna have to, make a plethora of like other things before that. I think I don't necessarily think it's something that you can learn. I think it's something that you have within you, that ability to command, that ability to like demand and to like use your voice in a particular way that allows you to kind of like form a narrative. That's like it's almost like a personality trait that you need to have first prior to like honing the skill of it, I think. Um so it's to me it almost feels like that thing where there's that saying that says hard work beats talent. Like you can be instinctively and like naturally good at something, but you may never be great at it because you never actually like sharpen that skill. Um, so I don't know if there's a difference. I think it's just a matter of like effort and like desire. And I think it's a very individual thing. Every director is different. However way you look at it, however much someone may try to be like someone else or like bite the style of someone else, you're never going to do it exactly the same way the person you've taken it from is doing it. So yeah, I think you can be a self-taught director and fucking kill it in the game, and you can also be educated in it and still like smash it. Like I think it's a matter of circumstance, a matter of like who you are and what it is you're trying to do, really. I'm in filmmaking, but my main like my main thing right now is advertising, right? And I feel like it's such an important distinction to make, because as much as filmmaking is integrated in advertising by like means of commercial, there's still a bit of like crafting you don't get to do in the commercial space. You don't get to it's like such a double-edged sword. You get to hone the skill of being able to tell a narrative in such a short space of time, which I think is such an important thing to be able to do. But you also don't get to tell the whole narrative, you know? And I feel like filmmaking at its core is really kind of delving deeper into understanding people, understanding places, understanding, whatever it is that the narrative is trying to convey. And I almost wish someone could have told me that it's very rare to be able to make films if you haven't gone through the avenue of advertising. It's not impossible, but in the instance where you don't come from a background that has money and you can like fund your ventures, you most likely are gonna have to, be an editor or like work in commercials and advertising to make the money to allow you to be able to do, for lack of a better word, pure films. Like actual narrative films. Yeah. So I wish someone had told me that I wasn't gonna just make a movie, that I was gonna have to, make a plethora of like other things before that. And like you only realize when you're in it. And like I left, I did this year of my honors, and that was the only like education I had in film, and I genuinely had no idea what I was going to do after that. I had no insight into how I navigate myself. The school I went to also wasn't very like informative about the avenues that I could take in, exploring what I could possibly venture into outside of school. So it kind of like, it hits you, man. And I think that's why exploitation is so like intense in the thing that we do, because we don't share enough information about it. We really just kind of like gatekeep it in the spaces that we're in. And we never know when something is meant to happen differently because no one really talks about it. So yeah.
Real.
The first thing I ever made, I had no budget. I just like had a camera and like an idea, and I shot it. It was this short film about these guys who Spantula, you know, but not a Spantula in the sense of like ngata makwala man. Esa Spantula sase Eastern Cape, not esa lape Josie where you like, you know, dance and you like have sporties and you know you dress in like Samson, exactly. And I was very curious why these guys were dressed this way every day on their way to work. So that was the first film I made. It was myself, a good soul friend of mine, Osisonke, and we just did it.
It was cool.
Wow, what was it called? My first music video, I think, was Cedric Diggory. Also had no money for it, just had a camera and an idea and a friend who had made a song that I liked, and I was like, let's go to Langa and let's shoot this thing. I was in a very frustrating period in my life where I was like, what is going on? Like, what have I gotten myself into? What is advertising? Why does it feel this way? And like, do I actually want to do it, and can I really? And I just wanted to make stuff to kind of like exercise my voice outside of, you know, commercials. Yeah, so I took a Sony from the place I was working at the time, shot it myself, had a friend who edited it, and that was that. Who doesn't have imposter syndrome? Like, is that real? Like even a Mark must have imposter syndrome, surely, somehow, right? Right? I mean, I don't know, but of course, I've had imposter syndrome. I've always had it. I think I'll always have it. I think my desire to be great at the thing that I do means that I'm constantly questioning my capabilities. And I think there's always, you know, not even a sense of comparison, but you're always going to look to what's happening around you to kind of gauge what the climate is in the thing that you do. And I think that warrants a lot of questions about yourself. And like that sense of curiosity definitely kind of breeds this like, oh, do I know what I'm doing? Like, is it making sense? Are people going to like understand it? And like, do people even give a shit? Do you know what I mean? Because you can make something for yourself 110%, cool, whatever. But you essentially also want people to engage with the pieces that you make, however way they relate to it. You want them to, you're telling a story that you want to be heard by other people. And you may not have control about how far it gets in terms of people hearing it, but you care about what people think about it. And I think that warrants a sense of like, you know, anxiety and imposter things. Yeah.
Nice.
My greatest interest is honestly blackness. Like I'm so curious and so like excited by all the multiple ways I've seen Black people be in comparison to what we told we need to be, or you know, the limited experience in ourselves and in our communities and in our spaces where we don't necessarily always feel free to just be. I'm really curious what that is if we were able to just be people and like do things and not have to, you know, constantly have to look over our shoulder or like have to explain why. I think we're going to speak about this later, but like Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, problematic fave, you know, always used to speak about how he was always bullied for his interests and how they were so like not what Black people do. And I'm just like, who gets to decide that? And why do they get to decide that? And like, when we as individuals get to decide that for ourselves, how does it manifest? I'm really like curious about that. At our core, who are we? What are we about? What do we want to be about? And like, I think in doing that, maybe we can encourage all the Black people in the world to be who they are freely. Do it afraid. Yeah, I read that somewhere once. Wasn't necessarily someone told me, I just read it and I was like, damn, so much of my navigation is rooted in fear. By virtue of the fact that I'm so conscious about not having an example of like a me in the thing that I'm trying to do. So essentially it feels like I'm the first person to like, you know, try this thing as a woman, as a queer, you know, fairly young person in this space. I can't say that I've seen anyone that looks like me do this thing.
Coming from where you come from.
Yes, you know, and wanting it to do the way I want to do it, the way I think I want to do it, because I think that's also something that's constantly evolving. Yeah, it's like I have to kind of lean into it and back myself, and every day I have to remind myself of that. Like, it's scary, but like, there is no, like, the only way is through. Like, I have to get on with it, however anxious and afraid and like how much imposter syndrome I have to do the thing, bro. Yeah, do it afraid. I think it's maybe, for me personally, I think it's understanding what it is I'm trying to do and like hoping that that lands, you know? Like, I can have an idea in my mind and I see it so clearly, but my translation of it is going to have a different like impact on someone else, you know? Like they won't see it the way I see it. And like there's a beauty and like a bit of an anxiety in that reality for me. It's like, I trust my experience and I trust my voice, but like, will anyone hear it? Will it actually like land, and will it be relatable to someone? Will it, because at the root of it, I really want it to be impactful. Whatever I do, I want it to impact someone else. I want to kind of be of service to, you know, I hate saying being a voice for like more than just myself, but like honestly, I think as humans, our experience of are a lot more common than we tend to think. And I think I just want to connect those dots so much that when I share my art, I would like someone to feel seen in some shape or form, because that's kind of what I'm hoping for myself. Yeah. I don't know if that's a very long-winded way of answering that question, but. So I currently work at a production company called FAM, and we like this new boutique kid on the block to some extent. I work with very experienced people, but the company in itself is very new. And when we started, my hope was that my functionality in the space was that in any like capacity in which the grown-ups weren't there, I could rise to the occasion. And that was the challenge that I kind of like took upon myself in the beginning of this year. And I feel like I've done it. I feel like I've been able to step up and, you know, do the thing that I was hoping to do. And I'm like proud of myself for that. Not to be wild or anything, but Mpo Twala and Kabir shot this film called Apart. It's like shot in a prison. Very minimal, but so like narratively strong, I feel like. And so it felt like such an important story to tell. And I wish I got to make that film. It's the story about this girl who gets arrested. Well, her parents literally like send her to the police station or something like that because she was smoking weed. And then she ends up in this jail cell next to a political activist. And they kind of have this conversation, like they're just talking like, why are you here? And she's just like, I just smoked some weed and what. But then he falls asleep for maybe like they talk throughout the night, and then maybe he falls asleep for maybe like 5 minutes, something. And all within that 5 minutes, she kills herself. And like, she dies. So this political activist who's in prison never got to see her face, ever. Like, she was in the cell, they had the conversation that they had between the cells, she killed herself, they took her body out, that's it. That's the story. And it's based on a real story, and the real person was on their set, and like the actress that was playing that girl was the only face he could like put for that experience for himself. And I don't know if that had any impact in like a sense of closure for him, but I think when filmmaking does like connects things like that, for me, oh man, it's like mixing documentary with like wonder, and that's really essentially all I ever want to do, is like make films that reflect real people, like real stories. And I know it's so fucking cliche to say you want to be authentic in how you like show people to the world, but like really, a lot of the films that I wish I had made are ones that feel very human. They really, really create complex characters with layers, because that's what being human is. And I love that film because of that. Another film was Uzwelethwa Radebe's The Hangman. I mean, it's kind of ironic that a lot of the films that I wish I made were very political, but I feel like there's a lot to say there that we just don't unpack enough. And when we do unpack it, it's very one-dimensional. So yeah, I would say those two films. I wish there was a women's film I could say. Oh fuck no. What? Why? No, dude, like I'm so more power, and not to like if Hollywood is the goal for anyone else, like please, by all means, congratulations and go forth. But that is not the kind of like, I'm interested in what cinema in Africa can look like. I'm interested in being part of what that becomes. I'm interested in unpacking what that can be, and like being of service in like offering a lens into what that can be. So I don't think the Hollywood gaze has space for that. And I don't think they care to be that honest about us. I think we need to care about being that honest about us. And I think if we want to do it well and with integrity, it has to be done by us. We can be serviced by people who have more budgets, who have, who at the end of the day always kind of like skew the thing you're trying to do anyway. A lot of the time. Lucky are those who don't fall under that trap. But no, I just Usman Sembene once said, I'm not interested in what Hollywood is doing. Like, what are we doing? And that's kind of, I take great inspiration from that. Because what is African cinema? or rather, actually, what is South African cinema? Because we have Nollywood. We have Nollywood, and it's Nollywood because it's such a specific genre of film, right? Nigerians have really mastered their voice in that way, in that you watch. I mean, how many channels did we have on DSTV that were Nigerian movies? Do you know what I mean? Do you know how massive you have to announce yourself and to like consistently create for that to be acceptable, for it to be, you know? And I wish we would lean into it. You know what I mean? I wish we would lean into it a lot more, because I think to be South African is so expansive. You know, we're not just criminals. We're not just like freedom fighters. We're not just, there's so much here. You go to the township, people have so many fucking stories to tell, bro. Like, how do we have a shortage of copywriters? Like, you have kids, Elokshini, who are writing raps. They don't even know why. They don't even like understand why they have this like desire to just like write words on a page. But if we don't like go looking for those things, I really don't think we will evolve in the way that we need to, and in the way that we have the potential to, because we're not searching for it. And I wish that we would. What an interesting music video. One thing about Donald Glover, man, like, that man is an artist. Like, yeah, like a student of the arts as well. And you can tell in how he delivers his work. I am also a sucker for black and white. Like, I'm just like, oh, everything looks so crisp. And I also feel like you're able to kind of like color it in for yourself. When it's black and white, it's almost like the difference between a movie and reading a book to me. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think whoever wrote that did an incredible job. So I'd say the director. Who directed it?
Hero Murai.
Of course. Because the performances are incredible. I really like the tonality of it, how he's so performative and like hyper there, and everyone's kind of just like, whatever, what is this guy doing? And only when like that gun pops off, everyone kind of like starts engaging. I have an idea why that is. I'm not really sure, so I won't speak on it, but I found that very interesting and exciting. So I'd say the director and the choreographer, yeah, they went hard.
Out of 5?
And the performances, really. I think the cast was great. I'll give it a 3.5, because I'm not sure if it's controversial. Something about it feels like a black man dancing for approval. And like, I don't know how that sits with me, but it's also a room full of black people. So it's like, you know, that gives it a different context. It could be that I'm biased. It really could be. But in my opinion, one of like the greatest women MCs that we have, actually. I once had a little Twitter debacle with someone after she released Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert, and I was like, you know, Lil Sims is actually one of the greatest rappers of our generation at the moment. And everyone, like, this person was Tube, actually, and I will name drop him. Tube was like, no, I'm not. I don't know about that, but like, she is good. But I still maintain the amount of storytelling Lil Sims does in a song is so exciting for me. Like, man, I'm sure you can tell by now that I really like people who have shit to say. Like, say something that means something. Like, please. Like, we live in a world that's so like fast. Everything is so fleeting that we don't even like listen anymore. And I appreciate anyone who gives me the opportunity to do that, to like just sit and immerse myself in the thing that they're saying, because like, what are you going through? Is it what I'm going through? Can we like, you know, relate? Do I feel seen by hearing you? But this particular music video, is so wonderful to me because there are so many references in it, but it doesn't feel like a copy and paste, you know? It doesn't feel like she was biting it. It feels like she was honoring it. And I really, really love and appreciate that. I think the composition is just fucking fantastic. I'm a sucker for a good frame, man. Like, oh my God. Yeah. What was the question? Honestly, I mean, shout out Lil Sims. I'd say camera department, and whoever conceptualized that shit. Yeah. I'm gonna say 4.5. Yeah.
Not being biased at all.
I'm gonna say 4.5. I don't know what they could have done better, to be honest. And maybe that is my bias speaking, but I'm just like, it looks good, it feels good, it sounds good. What else is there?
Nothing else.
I don't know what else is there. Like,